oppressed or being vilified because of what they're hearing in the media, whether it's the spike in hate crime in other communities across the nation. What Trump is saying has real consequences and is dividing our nation. Our response to that divisiveness must be unity. Together, we're standing here to basically make a strong call to all of our communities to come together and speak their voices to make sure they are heard. Because our opponent isn't Trump, it's the nativist populism he represents. And what we must do is respond to hate with love. It's our task not just to make sure we vote, but make sure that many of us are voting in overwhelming numbers to make the clear claim that love trumps hate. And it's vitally important that we stand with each other in this fight, because there's more at stake than just this election. It's really, what do we stand for as a nation? It's important that as leaders within our communities, within elected office, that we're not just standing for tolerance, but we're standing for true welcoming, not just diversity, but racial equity. It's our pleasure to be here, and it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers, Mayor Ed Murray, Teresa Mosqueda, and Kira Singh Bular. First, let me introduce the mayor of our great city of Seattle, Mayor Ed Murray.
Thank you, Rich, and thank you for your leadership. I am here this morning not because Donald Trump is coming to the Seattle metropolitan region. We respect anyone's right to speak out. We respect anyone's right to engage in the use of free speech, and we understand that includes the use of hate speech. But I am here because the speech is hate speech, and it does have consequences. I'm here because of the school children I meet in Seattle public schools. Latino and Muslim children who tell me, Mayor, I'm afraid they're going to send me away. Or Mayor, I'm afraid they're going to send my mother away. Mr. Trump's speech has consequences. I am here because the transgender community in this nation is being used as a political scapegoat. And if it is not stopped, then a manufactured, non-existent bathroom crisis will only lead to more violence and deaths against our transgender brothers and sisters. I am here because we are involved in a very difficult conversation in this nation about racism, and particularly about racism as relates to policing. The hate speech that we have heard and the denigration and division of groups will not lead towards a way forward. I am here because Mike Pence is Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate. Mike Pence, who is a congressman, voted against hate crimes for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people. Mike Pence, who passed a law in the state of Indiana that allows discrimination. Mike Pence, who attempted to redirect HIV funding towards the abhorrent diversion therapy. That's why we are here today. I'm also here because, like mayors across this nation, I realize that the toxic combination of the politics of hate and the proliferation of guns will only lead to more Orlandos, in Louisianas, in Minnesotas, and Dallas. I am here because we need somebody who understands, both in the White House and Congress, that we have serious issues that we have to address. Serious issues of division, serious issues of racial tension, serious issues of economic inequality. And these things are not solved by the constant denigration of people based on their gender, their sexual orientation, their race, and shockingly enough, their disability. I'm also here because I believe that the progressive movement must think very hard about how it responds to Mr. Trump and to his ilk. The progressive movement that I came out of was based on the principles of nonviolent intervention, such as Dr. Martin Luther King's principles. They were based on Seattle's own Archbishop Hunthausen, who in the 1980s led an effort against nuclear submarines in the state and refused to pay part of his income tax because of militarization. I would hope that we as a movement would reach into our own tradition and not reach to the level of those who follow Mr. Trump and engage in name-calling, finger-pointing, or the politics of degradation. We can do better than that. So with that, again, we respect the right of anyone to visit our city and our region. We respect the right of anybody to come and say what they want. Hate speech is actually protected, but we must speak out because of the dangers that that speech entails. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Murray. Next, I want to introduce Teresa Mosqueda, who is a chair member of One America Votes Board and also serves with the Washington State Labor Council.
Good morning. I'm Teresa Mosqueda, and today I'm speaking as the political director with the Washington State Labor Council, AFL-CIO, representing over 450,000 workers in this state and around 600 local unions. And I'm also speaking as a board member of One America Votes. One America Votes is committed to creating a Washington for all by building power in immigrant and refugee communities. And we achieve this through advocacy, leadership development, involvement in civic engagement, and involvement in our democracy. And in the Washington State labor movement, we stand up for workers to make sure that they have a voice at the workplace, a voice in their community, and participate in democracy so that we can promote policies that work for all workers. In conversations that we've had with members around this state, one thing is clear. Donald Trump's rhetoric is dangerous. Dangerous for workers, dangerous for immigrants, and dangerous for families here in our state. Trump's rhetoric normalizes bigotry, and he has brought hate groups like white supremacists into the mainstream politics. Parents fear for their children's safety as bullying of kids of color has increased in schools right here in Washington State, which has real and immediate consequences if you think about the fact that about a quarter of Washington's children are from immigrant families. We've seen spikes in hate crimes against people of color and against religious minorities in their places of worship right here in our state. Donald Trump's divisive, dangerous language and policy worker. He tries to pit citizens against immigrant communities. But we see through his lies. Donald Trump is no friend of workers. Donald Trump is no friend of communities of color. It's not like all of a sudden Donald Trump now thinks that Black Lives Matter and his, quote, softening of his position on immigration is just another lie. He's called for deporting 16 million people and tearing families apart. He has demonized immigrants and refugees, and he repeatedly says he will build a wall. That is the truth. That is the real Donald Trump. And Donald Trump does not reflect Washington State's values. He is racist, he is sexist, he is classist. He is anti-worker, anti-immigrant, and anti-refugee, and we cannot let him divide us, and we will not. We won't fall for it, we won't be fooled, we won't turn against one another. Not on our watch, not here in Washington State, not in the state that has stood up for workers, not in the state that stood up for immigrant rights, for voting rights, for raising the wage, for passing paid sick days, for things like the fundamental ability to live in a state and work in a state and raise a family. We say we are sticking up for all workers, and when we say all workers, we mean all workers in all communities. We see strength in our diversity. We embrace policies that lift families up and lift communities up. And instead of doing what Donald Trump says by tearing them down or putting them against each other, we will build bridges that unite us, not walls that divide us. Those are Washington State values. And we stand here, united and stronger together, saying no to Trump, not in our state, not on our watch.
And finally, I'd like to introduce Hira Singh Bhular, who is a courageous leader in the Sikh community who was the first Sikh to run for office for Kent City Council last year. Hira?
I'm Hira Singh Bhular. I'm a member of Sikh community, basically lives in Kent. I moved to this country in 2001 to live my American dream, to raise a family here to this great country. But from last few months with Mr. Trump's comments, I'm feeling like I'm a kind of victim why I moved to this country. So this kind of message Mr. Trump is spreading across. He's devising the communities. His hatred message is directly impacting, especially being a Sikh, impacted by his comments. I'll come to that later on. So first on immigrant, I have 2 kids, and both of the kids, as Mr. Mayor said, they hear from school, I hear in home. My both kids are worried about what will happen if Mr. Trump comes in power. So that kind of hatred he's spreading in this community. When he talk about immigration policies, building wall, that thing hit here. It's right in the heart. I'm not making up. This is really is emotional thing for each immigrant story. Every immigrant feel that way, what I'm feeling it. So as a member of Washington State, and Washington State is a great state where everybody live freely, I think every religion, every community is most welcome in the state, so we don't want Mr. Trump in the state. He can come here, he tried to spread his hate message, let him do it, but we be strong and united together. We don't want his hatred here. And the second part is spreading message against Muslims, which is spreading the Islamophobia, which is directly impacting Sikhism too, because we wear turbans, we have a shape and look like that. So he doesn't know what is difference between Sikh and Muslim. There are a couple of Sikhs were thrown out of his rallies because he thinks they're Muslims. So that kind of thing is really, really impacting a Sikh community. So that's why we are here all together to stop Trump. And we need to step up and vote. That's the only way to bring the democracy, and the only way to stop him is a vote. So everybody must step up and vote. So that's the only message I'm going to say. Thank you.